everybody, Andrew Rogers here, TST, Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to be doing another video for you. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your continued viewership and support. It's very much appreciated. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys have had a fantastic week. I know I have, and very happy to be doing another episode right here. TST, Total Sports Talk. I am your host, Andrew Rogers. We got a great show for you. Let's take a look at the old TST calendar as to where we are. Watch the circle move. It is Tuesday, December the 5th. We are exactly 20 days out from Christmas. Very excited about that. I don't know about you guys, but man, Christmas is my favorite time of year. I love it, and you know what? Now that I've got a little guy who's getting older, and it'll be his second Christmas this year. I mean, his first one, he was only 3 months old, so really, he didn't really have the full experience. This year will be a lot different for him, I'm sure. He's a lot more curious this time around, I think, and he'll probably get a lot of enjoyment out of it, I'm hoping. Also, you can see I still got the mustache intact, and I gotta say, man, it looks awesome. You know what? No signs of slowing down. However, I think January 1 is going to be the absolute cutoff for me on this one, because it's getting a little crazy. I'm starting to look like Jim Carrey and Me, Myself, and Irene. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but I am quite enjoying the fact that I look like a road cop. But anyways, I digress. We got a great program coming up for you. You know, like I say, 20 days out till Christmas. Little programming note. As it shapes up, all my episodes come out every Tuesday. I like to do an episode, shoot a video, and upload an episode, hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how my editing goes. But I will not be doing one when Tuesday, December 26th hits the schedule, because obviously, for obvious reasons, Boxing Day, holidays, and you know, I'd like to spend a little bit of time with the family. I think that's only fair. So yeah, we got a great show for you today. Here's what we got on tap. We got Hawk Talk, all things Winterhawks. It was a great week for the Winterhawks. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't the greatest week for the Winterhawks. They had a game against Petrolia Squires. We'll get into that in Hawk Talk. We got player profile. We'll give you the updates on the standings, your schedule from last week, your upcoming schedule. We got all sorts of stuff we want to talk about in Hawk Talk. And we got reports on the Owen Sound Attack, Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Raptors, the NFL story, as well as our TST sports movie pick of the week, as always. And we got other sports headlines. There's lots of them. It's very busy. And you know what? Let's not waste any time. Let's get underway. Here's Hawk Talk to start off. TST Total Sports Talk, Season 2, Episode 13. TST Total Sports Talk presents Hawk Talk, brought to you by Gord's Imprints and Design. New location opening at 685 Goderich Street in downtown Port Elgin in the fall of 2017. Visit www.gordsimprints.com for more. In this week's Hawk Talk, the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks took to the streets all the way to Petrolia to face off against the Petrolia Squires in the hopes of ending a 2-game losing streak. Hawks into Petrolia to face off against the Petrolia Squires. Unfortunately, the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks could not come out on top in this one. Final score, Petrolia 6, Saugeen Shores Winterhawks 2 is the final. Saugeen Shores dropping to 4-5-1 on the season, while the Petrolia Squires moved to 7-7-0 on the year. Goaltender Brandon Campbell of the Petrolia Squires was very good in the hockey game. He stopped 32 of 34 shots for the victory, while goaltender Jeff Flagler was the hard luck loser in this one. 34 saves for him on the evening. Like I say, Saugeen Shores Winterhawks dropping to 4-5-1. They got goals from Blake Underwood, his 4th, and Miles McLean, his 3rd. He also got assists. Saugeen Shores got assists from Trent Hawk, Connor Patton, James McCaig, and Shelby Simmons, who registered his first point of the season. Scoring for the Petrolia Squires, they scored in bunches. Obviously, they had 6 on the evening. Rob Van Weinsberg, he had the 2 goals to pace the Squires in this one. Davis Boyer, Adam Arsenault, Dan Venema, and James Edgar all added singles, while Adam Arsenault also added an assist for the Squires in the victory in this one. Other action on the weekend saw Friday, December 1. We had the Durham Thundercats topping the Elora Rocks. 13-3 was the final there. While Huron Centenaires, they absolutely demolished the Shallow Lake Crushers. 10-2 was the final there. Moving over to Saturday, December the 2nd, we had the Ripley Wolves defeating the Shallow Lake Crushers 5-2. While the Tilsonburg Thunder defeated the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives. 8-2 was the final in that one. Unfortunate that the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks weren't able to come out on top. They lost their third straight, falling to the Petrolia Squires. They need to get back to the basics, I think, in this one. You know what? The wins will come. It's just, it's such a tight window when you have a 20-game season to be able to really find enough rhythm to get your feet going and to string together some wins, because, you know, in some cases it takes 15 games to get going, and by 15 games you could be too far out of it. So as we look now, though, at our WOA Senior AA Men's League standings, the Tilsonburg Thunder are in first place. They are 10-2-1 on the season, good for 21 points. The Clinton Radars are still undefeated. They are 9-0 on the season through 9 games, 18 points for them. The Ripley Wolves slot in at number 3. They are 8-2 on the year. The Shelburne Muskies, Petrolia Squires, and the Durham Thundercats all have 14 points apiece in the 4, 5, and 6 spot. The Saugeen Shores Winterhawks come in at number 7. They are tied with the Huron Centenaires. Both have identical 4, 5, and 1 records on the season. 1 point back in the number 9 spot is the Shallow Lake Crushers at 4-8-0 on the year, good for 8 points. The Tavistock Royals are at number 10. They are 3-8-0 on the year, good for 6 points. While the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives are 3-6-0, also good for 6 points. The Lucknow Lancers at 1-6-1 and the Elora Rocks at 1-8-1 have 3 points apiece in the basement. Moving on now to your Saugeen Shores Winterhawks leading scorers on the season. Trent Hawk leads the way. He has 4 goals and 6 assists on the year, good for 10 points. Andy Mitchell has 4 goals and 4 assists. He is in the number 2 spot at 8 points on the season. Brent McDermott, Blake Underwood, Connor Patton, Miles McLean, and Chris Menard all have 7 points apiece. Josh Hopkin at 3 goals and 3 assists comes in at number 8. Lachlan Elder at number 9 with 1 goal and 4 assists on the year, while Curtis Johnson comes in at number 10. He has a goal and 3 assists for good for 4 points. He is tied with a few more Winterhawks. Yeah, busy. It wasn't as busy for around the WOA Senior AA Men's League this past weekend, but it will change. This weekend is a very busy. There's a lot of games on the schedule. We got Friday, December the 8th. There are 4 games on hand. The Petrolia Squires are at the Clinton Radars. That is an 8:30 start. The Elora Rocks at Shallow Lake Crushers is an 8:30 start. The Shelburne Muskies are into Saugeen Shores to face off against the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. That is an 8:30 start, and the Durham Thundercats at the Lucknow Lancers, 8:30 as well. Moving on to Saturday, December the 8th, we got the Tavistock Royals at the Huron Centenaires. That's a 7:30 start. The Ripley Wolves at the Lucknow Lancers. That's a 7:30 start as well. The Shallow Lake Crushers into Shelburne to face the Muskies at 8 o'clock. And finally, the Clinton Radars are at the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives. That's an 8:30 start in that one as they look to move to 10-0 on the season. Like I said, yeah, that's the next opponent. A very, very tough Shelburne Muskies team is on deck for your Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. That game is at the Plex this upcoming Friday, December the 8th. The puck drop there is 8:30 p.m. We now move to the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks player profile of the week.
Alex Kuntz, Mildmay, Ontario. My fondest hockey memory would be winning the Western Junior C League Championship.
Yeah. Why was that significant for you?
It's probably the biggest one, my biggest things I've ever won.
Yeah?
Yeah. Can't recall one I know of right now.
Trip over the blue line? Or?
I guess probably stepping on the ice with clear tape on the bottom of my skates.
Clear tape?
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I've heard of skate guards, but not clear tape.
Yeah, people do that.
That's pretty funny.
Just the social part of it.
Yeah?
That social aspect for sure.
Hanging with the guys?
Yeah, hanging with the guys, and definitely playing too is a lot of fun and enjoyment out of that. That's for sure.
Right on. All right, first question. Former NHLer and Port Elgin native Brett McLean was drafted in the second round, 32nd overall in the '07 draft. Which team took him?
I think Arizona.
Well, it would be Phoenix.
Phoenix?
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Phoenix Coyotes. Good job. Which Canadian NHLer scored the golden goal in the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver?
Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby. Good job, buddy. In 1996, Colorado Avalanche won their first Stanley Cup after relocating from Quebec. Who'd they beat?
Pass.
Florida Panthers. How many titles have the Winterhawks won?
10.
4.
Four.
Since they come back.
Since they come back? Yeah, I wouldn't know.
It's all good. Bruins captain Zdeno Chara has played for 3 teams in his career. Boston, Ottawa, and the team that drafted him. Which team was that?
Pass. I don't know.
The New York Islanders.
New York Islanders.
And spell the word Zamboni.
Zamboni.
Good job, Dave.
Means winning. I'm not sure.
You enjoy the local part of it?
Yeah.
You know all the fans and that sort of thing?
Yeah. Enjoy the. I'm not sure.
You just enjoy hockey.
Enjoy hockey. Enjoy being here. Enjoy the teammates, and the coach and staff, and yeah.
And that is all for your Hawk Talk this week on this week's episode of TST Total Sports Talk. We'll be right back after this. TST Total Sports Talk presents the Owen Sound Attack Report. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me as always. It's a pleasure having you here week after week. We've reached the time in the program now for the Owen Sound Attack Report. The Attack were very busy last week. They were trying to halt a mini 2-game losing streak. Here are your game recaps from this past week for your Owen Sound Attack. Attack hosting the Rangers at the Bayshore was a back and forth affair. Attack blowing a 4-2 lead as the Rangers score 3 to take it 5-4 was the final. Ricard Huggs' second of the season tied it before Cole Sherwood's eventual game winner coming in the third period late. The Owen Sound Attack dropped their third straight game. The Attack now moved to dropped to 13-10-0-2 on the year, while the Kitchener Rangers improved to 16-9-2-0. Goaltender Luke Richardson of the Rangers stopped 17 in the getting the victory after replacing the coming in midway and taking over in relief. He stopped 17 of 18 along the way as the Rangers were able to come back and get the victory. Scoring for the Rangers were Adam Mascarin with 2, Cole Sherwood with 1, Ricard Hugg with 1, and Greg Morales with 1. Defenseman Joseph Garefa had 4 assists in the victory for the Rangers. Scoring for your Owen Sound Attack were Chase Campbell, Maxime Sushko, Nick Suzuki, and defenseman Sean Dursey, while Aiden Dudas chipped in with 2 assists. Riley Daniels, the goaltender for the Owen Sound Attack in this one, he stopped 20 in the loss. Attacking the Rangers on the second of a back-to-back, this time at the Odd in Kitchener. Attack picking up a point in this one, but losing their 4th straight. 5-4 was the final in overtime. Blowing another 2-goal lead as Adam Masker and Logan Stanley tied it up in the third before Cole Sherwood would net the winner in overtime for his second consecutive game winner. The Owen Sound Attack dropped on the season to 13-10-1-2 on the year, while the Kitchener Rangers improved to 17-9-2-0. Goaltender Luke Richardson got the start in this one and finished strong. He had 35 stops in the victory, while Mac Guzda got the start for the Attack. He stopped 38 shots in the loss for the Attack. Scoring for the Attack were Maxime Sushko with 2, Joe Nagajevic had 1, and Mitchell Russell, his first of the year, coming in the loss. Aiden Dudas and Sean Dursey with 3 assists apiece. Meanwhile, for the Kitchener Rangers, Cole Sherwood added 2 goals, Adam Mascarin, Greg Morales, and Logan Stanley added 1 apiece, while Joe Garefa had 4 assists for the second consecutive game, giving him 8 points in back-to-back victories over the Owen Sound Attack. Finally, the Attack were back at home, hosting the Guelph Storm to finish out their week, and a shootout was needed in this one, but the Attack come up short. 6-5 was the final. Now 5 straight losses for the Owen Sound Attack, courtesy of a hat-trick from Barrett Kerwin of the Guelph Storm. It was enough to hold off Jonah Gadjevic's 2-goal night for the Owen Sound Attack. Matt Guzda, he was the loser in this one. He had 12 saves down the stretch, and unfortunately ended up on the losing end. Guelph Storm goaltender Anthony Popovich had to stop 48 in the victory for the Guelph Storm, coming in for making 48 saves in regulation and in overtime. The Guelph Storm improved to 14-10-1-2 on the year, while the Attack slipped to 13-10-1-3 on the season. Scoring for your Owen Sound Attack was Jonah Gadjevic with 2, Matthew Struthers with 1, Sean Dursey with 1, and Dalen Grew with 1. Defenseman Brady Lyle had 2 assists in the loss. Barrett Kerwin, as mentioned, had 3 goals on the evening for the hat-trick, while Dmitry Samarakov, Isaac Ratcliffe, Isaac Ratcliffe, Dmitry Samarukov, and Barrett Kerwin supplying the goals for the Guelph Storm in regulation, and Isaac Ratcliffe would score the eventual shootout winner for the Guelph Storm as they defeat the Owen Sound Attack 5-4. Was the final in the shootout. Now, during the week for the Owen Sound Attack, they also were busy off the ice as they acquired a new player from the Saginaw Spirit. It's Daniil Verti, a left winger from the Saginaw Spirit, in exchange for a conditional 15th round pick in the 2018 priority selection draft. In his OHL career, he has 74 points, 29 goals, and 45 assists. In Saginaw this season, he has a goal and 8 assists, while in North Bay, he has a goal and an assist. It's being expected that he'll make his debut when the Attack go to Guelph to face the Guelph Storm this Friday. Taking a look now at your Western Conference standings, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds leapfrog the Sarnia Sting. They take the number one. They have the number 1 spot this week. Through 28 games, they are 23-3-2 on the year, good for 48 points. The Kitchener Rangers riding a winning streak. They are up to 18-9-2 on the year, good for 38 points there, and in the number 2 spot. The Sarnia Sting, through 29 games, are 22-5-2 on the year, good for 46 points. The Windsor Spitfires are number 4 at 15-10-2 on the year, good for 32 points. They are a point ahead of the Guelph Storm and the Saginaw Spirit, who both sit at 31 points. While your Owen Sound Attack dropped from number 4 seed to the number 7, they are 13-1-3, good for 30 points. They're still very much in it, though. They're 2 points separating 7th and 4th. While the London Knights come in at number 8, they are 13-12-2-0 on the year, good for 28 points. The Erie Otters are at number 9, 10-13-4-1, good for 25 points, while the Flint Firebirds are in dead last in the Western Conference standings. They have 9 wins and 17 losses, 2 overtime losses, shootout losses, good for 20 points through 28 games. Your Attack leading scorers are now as follows. Nick Suzuki leads the way, 17 goals and 25 assists for him, good for 42 points. Sean Dursey has 13 goals, 26 assists. He leads the Owen Sound Attack in assists with 26. He has 39 points on the season. Aiden Dudas comes in at number 3, 14 goals, 17 assists, good for 31 points. Kevin Hancock is number 4, 10 goals and 19 assists for 29 points for him, while Jonah Gadjevic has been red hot since he's come back, 14 goals, 11 assists, good for 25 points for him on the season. Looking now at your league-leading scorers in the Ontario Hockey League, you got Jordan Kyrou of the Sarnia Sting. He continues to lead the way by a wide margin, 18 goals and 36 assists, good for 54 points. He has a 10-point lead on Aaron Luchuk of the Windsor Spitfires, 23 goals, 21 assists for him, good for 44 points. Nick Suzuki, the Owen Sound Attack, comes in at number 3. He has 42 points. He is tied with Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound forward Morgan Frost, 13 goals, 29 assists on the year, good for 42 points. While Boris Kachuk rounds out the top 5, 23 goals and 18 assists, good for 41 points. Others in the top 10 include Robert Thomas, Jason Robertson of the Kingston Frontenacs, Sean Dursey of the Owen Sound Attack is number 8, Taylor Radish of the Erie Otters is number 9, and Drake Rimsha of the Sarnia Sting is the number 10 person there. Up next for your Owen Sound Attack, like I said, they have 2 games this upcoming week. Friday, December 8th, they are at the Guelph Storm. That is a 7:30 puck drop there, and they wrap up their week back at the Bayshore Saturday, December the 9th. They welcome in the Flint Firebirds in what should be an attack victory. They look to get off the schneid. They've lost 5 in a row, and they are desperate for wins right now in a very tight race in the Western Conference. That game against Flint is a 7:30 puck drop at the Bayshore. This has been your Owen Sound Attack report. We will be right back after this. Stick around. TST Total Sports Talk presents the NHL and the Toronto Maple Leafs report. Welcome back, everybody. TST Total Sports Talk. I am your host, Andrew Rogers. Thank you very much for joining me as always. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. Well, we've reached the point in our show where it is time for the Maple Leafs report. The Maple Leafs had a 3-game Western road trip in Canada this past weekend against the 3 Canadian teams in the West, not including the Winnipeg Jets. They were in Calgary, in Edmonton, and in Vancouver. Here are your game recaps. Leafs in Calgary to begin a 3-game Western Canada road trip. Roman Polak's first goal of the season careened in off of 2 Flames, and behind Mike Smith, Curtis Lazar replaced Jaromir Jagr, who sat due to a lower body injury, and Frederik Andersen improved to 6-0-1 in his career against the Flames, as the Toronto Maple Leafs downed the Calgary Flames 4-1 was the final. Frederik Andersen, like I said, made 19 saves in the victory, while goaltender Mike Smith was the hard luck loser in this one, 26 saves for him. Calgary dropping to 13-10-1 on the year, while the Maple Leafs improving to 16-9-1 on the season. Maple Leafs getting goals from Nazem Kadri, his 12th, Leo Komarov with his 3rd, Roman Polak, as mentioned, with his 1st, and Nikita Zaitsev with his 4th. Scoring for the lone goal for the Calgary Flames was Michael Stone. He had 1 goal, and it was assisted by Troy Brouwer and Sam Bennett. Maple Leafs were very good in this game, a very well-rounded game for them. 4-1, like I said, was the final in that one. Maple Leafs continuing the road trip with stop number 2 of their 3-game Western road trip with a visit to Edmonton to face off against Edmonton Oilers. Maple Leafs coming out on top in this one, 6-4 was the final. Frederik Andersen was very busy in the game, but he was very good. 41 saves for him in the victory. Maple Leafs improving to 17-9-1 on the season. The Edmonton Oilers falling to 10-14-2. Laurent Brossoit made 30 saves in relief of Cam Talbot. Talbot unfortunately missed the game, and he is expected to miss about 2 weeks after being placed on the injured reserve prior to the contest with a lower body injury. Scoring for the Toronto Maple Leafs were William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Dominic Moore, Patrick Marleau, and Nazem Kadri. William Nylander adding 2 assists. He was the best Maple Leaf on the ice. It's nice to see him score a goal for the first time in quite some time. Patrick Marleau was credited with the game winner in this one after an inadvertent clearing attempt from defenseman Chris Russell of the Edmonton Oilers. Fortunately, a fluke play. Russell trying to clear the puck into the corner, turns and fires, and he puts one past Brossoit, his own goalie for the Edmonton Oilers, and it turns out to be the eventual game winner. Heartbreak in Edmonton for him, but the Leafs are the victors in this one, 6-4. Like I said, was the final. Moving on now, the Toronto Maple Leafs wrapped their 3-game Western road trip with a visit to Vancouver to face off against the Vancouver Canucks. Jakob Markstrom almost recorded his first NHL shutout, but a James Van Riemsdyk goal spoiled that late in the 3rd period. Vancouver, however, would hang on to defeat the Maple Leafs. 2-1 was the final. Vancouver improving to 12-10-4 on the year, while the Toronto Maple Leafs dropped to 17-10-1. Frederik Andersen was the loser in this one for the Leafs after starting. He had 24 saves in the loss. Well, like I said, Jakob Markstrom was unbelievable in the game. He made a number of key saves. 35 saves, in fact, for Markstrom on the evening to earn the victory. Scoring for the Vancouver Canucks was Marcus Granlund and Alex Edler adding singles, while Henrik Sedin and Daniel Sedin added an assist apiece. Like I said, James Van Riemsdyk scoring the only goal for the Maple Leafs. It was assisted from Morgan Rielly and Andreas Borgman. Now, prior to this game, Daniel Sedin was given a video tribute for recording his 1,000th point earlier this week. Tyler Bozak was forced to miss the game due to an illness. Hopefully they'll get him back in the lineup. Touch on Daniel Saugeen. It's an incredible accomplishment for him. He reaches 1,000 points in his career. Him and Henrik Saugeen, are the only brothers in the National Hockey League's history to each record 1,000 career points. It's quite an accomplishment. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Congratulations, Daniel. And you know what? They've had an unbelievable career in Vancouver. Unfortunately, no Stanley Cups, but what can you do? You can't win them all. Moving on now, we take a look now at the Atlantic Division standings as it pertains to your Toronto Maple Leafs. The Tampa Bay Lightning lead the Atlantic Division still. They are 18-6-2 on the season, good for 38 points. They are 3 points clear of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are sitting nicely in second place. They are 17-10-1 on the year through 28 games. They have 35 points. The Montreal Canadiens, winners of 5 in a row, are 13-12-3, good for 29 points. Well, the Boston Bruins have strung together a couple of victories with the strength of Tuukka Rask, who's back from injury. 12-9-4 on the year for them. They have 28 points. The Detroit Red Wings come in at number 5, 10-12-5 on the year. They have 25 points. While the Ottawa Senators, who are just struggling mightily of late, they are 1-7-1 in their last 9. They have 9 victories, 10 losses, and 6 overtime losses, shootout losses, good for 24 points. They are tied in the number 6 spot with the Florida Panthers, who are 10-13-4 on the year, 24 points for them as well. And the Buffalo Sabres are just anemic. They have 6 wins through 27 games, good for 16 points. That is just not going to get it done. They are so far behind the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are lead the Atlantic Division. 16 points, they're going to have to improve somehow, some way. Looking now at your Maple Leafs leading scorers on the season thus far. Austin Matthews leads the way, continues to lead the way. 13 goals, 13 assists for 26 points. He is tied for the goal lead with Nazem Kadri, who has 13, and JVR, who has 13 as well. Nazem Kadri's having an unbelievable start to his season. 13 goals, 10 assists, good for 23 points. William Nylander slots in at number 3. 5 goals and 15 assists for him. While Morgan Riley leads all defensemen on the Maple Leafs. 3 goals and 15 assists, good for 18 points. Switching over now to your league leaders in the scoring races for your NHL leaders. Nikita Kucherov now has the lead. 19 goals and 19 assists for him. He has 38 points on the season. He is second only to Ovechkin in goals on the season. Nikita Kucherov, he's unbelievable. Steven Stamkos' line mate is number 2. 11 goals and 26 assists for him. Good for 37 points. Calgary Flames forward Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, 12 goals, 24 assists for 36 points. He is in the number 3 spot. Number 4 and 5 belong to 2 Winnipeg Jets, who find themselves first place in the Western Conference standings. Blake Wheeler is the assist leader in the NHL. 7 goals along with 28 assists, good for 35 points. While his teammate Mark Scheifele, 14 goals and 20 assists, good for 34 points. They're off to an unbelievable start. The Winnipeg Jets are. Now, of course, looking forward, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be busy. They got 3 games coming up this week. They play a couple of familiar opponents, though. They just played them this past week. They start their week Wednesday, December 6th. They're at the ACC, and they welcome in the Calgary Flames. That is a 7:30 puck drop. Then they follow that up with a visit to Pittsburgh. They go to Pittsburgh to face off against Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's a 7 p.m. start over on Hockey Night in Canada. And then it's Rogers Hometown Hockey, Sunday, December the 10th, as they are at the ACC, and they welcome in McDavid and the Oilers. That is a 7 p.m. start in Toronto. It ought to be a dandy of a matchup. Matthews versus McDavid. You got to love when these two guys get together. So that is your Toronto Maple Leafs report. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. It should be good. It should be good. TST Total Sports Talk presents the Toronto Raptors and the NBA Report. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, your host, TST Total Sports Talk. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. We've now reached the point in our show where it's time for the Toronto Raptors report. They had 2 games this past week. Here are your game recaps. Hornets into the ACC to take on the Toronto Raptors, coming off a 112-78 victory over the Atlanta Hawks. Kyle Lowry scored a game-high 36 as he and DeMar DeRozan combined for 60 points. The Raps win easily, 126-113 was the final. Dwight Howard would produce a double-double for the Charlotte Hornets, 22 points and 10 rebounds in the loss. Charlotte drops to 8-12 on the year, while the Raptors improved to 13-7. They also got 8 points and 8 rebounds from Serge Ibaka, 10 points from Norman Powell, and Jonas Valanciunas had 12 points and 7 boards. Jeremy Lamb added 18, while Frank Kaminsky added 18 points and 7 rebounds in the loss for the Charlotte Hornets. Moving on now, the Toronto Raptors welcomed the Indiana Pacers into the ACC this past Friday. Raps making it 3 in a row with a 120-115 victory over the Indiana Pacers. That was the final in this one. Victor Oladipo had a game-high 36 for Indiana, but it wasn't enough as a well-balanced Toronto Raptors squad. They got 26 from DeMar DeRozan, 18 from rookie Jakob Poeltl, and 15 points and 8 boards from Serge Ibaka as they led the Raptors to the victory. Raptors improving to 14-7 on the year, while the Indiana Pacers dropped to 12-11 on the season. Kyle Lowry was good in the game as well. He had 11 points and 8 assists for the Toronto Raptors, while Jonas Valanciunas chipped in with 13 points and 7 rebounds of his own. Yeah, Raptors stringing together a couple victories here in a row. It's nice to see that. Puts them up to 3 now, and they are entrenched well in a nice spot. Unfortunately, they are well behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been absolutely unbelievable. They started 7-7 through 14 games, but they have rhymed off 10 wins in a row. They are now up to 7. They started. They're 10 wins in a row. 17-7 now on the season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are second place in behind the Boston Celtics. We look now at your complete standings in the NBA's Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics lead the way. They are 21-4. The Cavs are 3.5 games back at 17-7. The Toronto Raptors in third spot, 14-7 on the year, 5 points back. Detroit Pistons at 14-9, 6 points back. Philadelphia 76ers 13-10, 7 games behind. Milwaukee Bucks at 6, Indiana Pacers at 7, Washington Wizards at 8, New York Knicks at 9, Miami Heat at 10, Charlotte Hornets at 11, Orlando Magic at 12, the Brooklyn Nets at 13, the Atlanta Hawks at 14, and the Chicago Bulls, who are just absolutely horrendous to start the season, are 3-19 through 22 games. They're 16.5 games back of the Celtics early on. Talk about a humongous mountain to climb out of if they have any hopes of making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Up next for your Toronto Raptors, they have a busy week ahead. They got 4 games, including a road trip that starts after they are at the ACC Tuesday, December the 5th, where they welcome in the Phoenix Suns. That's a 7:30 tip-off. Then they go on the road for 4. Friday, December the 8th, they are in Memphis to face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. That's an 8 p.m. tip there. They move on there from Sunday to Sunday, December the 10th. They are in LA to face off, they are in Sacramento to face off against the Sacramento Kings. That's a 3:30 p.m. start. And then they wrap up their week with a visit to LA to face off against the LA Clippers. That is Monday, December 11th. That is a 10:30 start in LA against the Clippers in that one. Like I say, it's a very busy week. Hopefully the Raptors can string together more victories. They have 3 in a row, and they have 4 games where their opponents are subpar to say the least, and they should be able to rhyme off a few more victories in these games. That is your Toronto Raptors report for this week's edition of TST. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. TST Total Sports Talk presents the NFL Report. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. We've reached the point in the program where it is time to talk about the NFL and the NFL story. Here's your scoreboards from the Week 13 schedule. Alfred Morris rushed 27 times for 127 yards. Cowboys upending the Redskins 38-14 was the final. Case Keenum threw for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Minnesota Vikings improved to 10-2 on the year with a 14-9 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Joe Flacco threw for 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Baltimore Ravens demolished the Detroit Lions 44-20 to improve to 7-5 on the year. The New England Patriots absolutely silenced the Buffalo Bills 23-3 was the final. Rex Burkhead rushing 12 times for 78 yards. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground. New England improving to 10-2 on the year. San Francisco 49ers got a late field goal from Robbie Gould, and they improved to 2-10 on the year with a 15-14 victory over the Chicago Bears. Jimmy Garoppolo making his first start for the 49ers through 293 yards. He had an interception, no touchdowns, but looked very good in the victory. The Green Bay Packers got a touchdown in overtime from Aaron Jones. They defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 26-20. Jamal Williams was very good in the game, 113 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Green Bay at 6-6 on the year, while Tampa falls to 4-8. Jacksonville Jaguars demolished the Indianapolis Colts 30-10 was the final. Jacksonville improving to 8-4. Blake Bortles was very good in the game. He had 309 yards passing, 2 touchdowns for him. The Miami Dolphins defeated the Denver Broncos just like everybody else has been doing lately. 35-9 was the final in this one. Miami improving to 5-7 on the year. Kenyon Drake on the ground was unbelievable. 23 rushing attempts. He had 120 yards on the ground and a touchdown for the Dolphins. The New York Jets handed the Kansas City Chiefs their 6th loss in a row. 38-31 was the final. New York Jets improving to 5-7. Kansas City dropping to 6-6. They are 1-6 since starting 5-0. Josh McCown 331 yards passing and a touchdown in the victory. The Tennessee Titans beat the Houston Texans 24-13. 8-4 now are the Tennessee Titans on the year. Derrick Henry at 109 yards rushing on 11 carries for a touchdown, and he also had a touchdown in the victory. The LA Chargers improved to 6-6 on the year, handing the Cleveland Browns their 12th loss of the season in 12 games. 19-10 was the final in this one. Phillip Rivers threw for 344 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen has to be the comeback player of the year in my opinion. The New Orleans Saints improving to 9-3 on the year, 31-21 victors over the Carolina Panthers, who slipped to 8-4. Drew Brees with 269 yards passing and a touchdown in this one. Alvin Kamara, another big game for the Saints. He looks to be the runaway for Rookie of the Year in the Saints backfield. Him and Mark Ingram are probably the best backfield in the NFL. The LA Rams improving to 9-3 as well, 32-16 victors over the Arizona Cardinals. Jared Goff was unbelievable in the game, 220 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and interception, but the Rams look for real, and they look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year around. The Oakland Raiders defeated the New York Giants and improved to 6-6 with a 24-17 victory. Marshawn Lynch, had his biggest game as a Raider. 17 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Giants couldn't get it done under Geno Smith. They dropped their 10th game of the season. They are 2-10 on the year. Seattle Seahawks surprised the Philadelphia Eagles. 24-10 was the final. Seattle improving to 8-4. Philadelphia Eagles dropping to 10-2. Russell Wilson continued to improve on his second half. He threw for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has deeply entrenched himself in the MVP conversation for sure. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a late field goal from Chris Boswell with 4 seconds left in the fourth quarter as they improved to 10-2 on the year with a 23-20 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Le'Veon Bell had 182 total yards, 76 on the ground, 106 through the air, and a receiving touchdown to lead the Steelers to victory. An incredible week. Really, these games keep getting more and more interesting as the weeks progress, and it won't slow down anytime soon. At least that's the hope. Looking now at your statistical leaders across the board, we had Alex Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs. He led the way in the quarterback position. 366 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately, Kansas City couldn't get it done. They still fell to the Jets. Tom Savage of the Texans, 365 yards passing, a touchdown and interception. Carson Wentz, 348 yards passing, a touchdown and interception for him as well. Phillip Rivers, 344 yards passing, a touchdown for him. while Josh McCown rounds out the top 5, 331 yards passing and a touchdown. Blake Bortles, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, and Derek Carr round out the top 10. Looking now at your running backs, we had Alfred Morris of the Dallas Cowboys lead the way, 27 rushes, 127 yards, a touchdown, easily his best game of the season. Kenyon Drake of the Miami Dolphins rushed 23 times, 120 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, while Jamal Williams was unbelievable for the Packers, 21 rushes for 113 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans, 11 for 109 and a touchdown, while Peyton Barber of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stepped up huge, 23 rushes for 102 yards. No touchdowns on the ground, but he was very big in the game. Unfortunately, Tampa couldn't get it done. Marshawn Lynch, Kerwin Williams, LaShawn McCoy, Dion Lewis, and Mark Ingram round out the top 10 on the rushers. And finally, the receiving leaders of the week had Tyreek Hill lead the way, 6 receptions for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jermaine Kearse of the Jets, 9 for 157 yards, no touchdowns. Rob Gronkowski, 9 for 147 yards, no touchdowns. Nelson Aguilar of the Philadelphia Eagles, 7 for 141 and a touchdown. Mike Wallace of the Baltimore Ravens, 5 for 116, no touchdowns for him. Robbie Anderson, Le'Veon Bell, Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown, and Edwin Ingram round out your top 10 there for your statistical leaders. Looking now, though, at your AFC and NFC playoff pictures, boy, is it fun at this time of year when it comes to deciding and figuring out who stands where and what your potential matchups can be. Let's look at the AFC first. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots at 10-2 apiece. They are in the 1 and 2 spot. The number 3 seed belongs to the Tennessee Titans at 8-4. As if the season were to end today, they would face off against the number 6 Baltimore Ravens at 7-5. They would host that game as the 3 seed. And your number 4 seed right now is the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-6. They would be hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars in the number 5 spot. They are 8-4 on the year. The Jaguars are on the bubble. You have the LA Chargers, the Buffalo Bills, and the Oakland Raiders all at 6-6. The interesting part about this here, so the Buffalo Bills are a full game behind the Baltimore Ravens in the numbers for the final wild card position. Buffalo sitting at 6-6, Baltimore at 7-5. Well, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, and the Oakland Raiders all at 6-6 in the AFC West. If you would have told me that was going to happen at the start of the year, I wouldn't have believed you. Switching over now for the NFC, we have Minnesota leading that division. They are tied with the Eagles. They both have identical 10-2 records. The number 3 seed belongs to the LA Rams, who are 9-3 on the year. If the season were to end today, they would host the number 6 Carolina Panthers at 8-4. While the number 4 seed of New Orleans Saints at 9-3 would host the number 5 seed Seattle Seahawks at 8-4. On the bubble in this one, you got the Atlanta Falcons at 7-5. While the Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Dallas Cowboys all have an outside shot looking in. They are a full 2 games back each, though, of the 6-seeded Carolina Panthers at 8-4. It'll be interesting to see how this one shakes down. You have the looming return of Ezekiel Elliott, maybe too little, too late there. And you also have the uncertainty as to when we'll see Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. They're saying right now that they're expecting he will be activated for their Week 15 tilt against the Carolina Panthers. Boy, wouldn't that be a beauty of a matchup. You see Aaron Rodgers come back with the Green Bay Packers primed for a position spot, and they go up against the Carolina Panthers, possibly a great matchup there to determine a playoff spot. Boy, that would ever be fun. Moving on now, so right here on the program TST, we've been doing our NFL game picks all year round. We want to take a look now at your current standings. Our leader now is Sean Smuck. After an 11-5 week, he has 105 wins on the year, 56 losses. He is a full game ahead of Andrew Warren. Andrew struggled last week. He went 9-7 on the week. His record is 104-57. He is a game behind. Marcus Ripson had a very good week, 13-3 on the week. He is up to 102-59. He is 3 games back of Sean Smuck for the lead. You got Jason Antonori in the 4 spot. Went 10-6 last week, 97-64 on the season, and he has 8 games behind. Mike Story went 11-5. He is 95-66, 10 games behind. Mike Flanagan 13-3, 94-67 on the year, 11 games behind. I had a decent week. I went 13-3, 91-70. I'm still 14 games behind. While my wife Jessica Rogers went 9-7 last week. She is 84-77, 21 games behind. She had an incredible start though. She was leading this thing at one point, but unfortunately she has fell behind. So upcoming. This is what I'm talking about. At this point in the NFL season, it is just absolutely incredible. I love the games that are going on right now because there are so many good ones to watch. There are 5 coming up out of 16 this week. The New Orleans Saints are in Atlanta to face off against the Atlanta Falcons on the Thursday nighter. New Orleans at a 9-3, Atlanta at 7-5. The Indianapolis Colts take their 3-9 record into Buffalo to face off against the Bills, who are at 6-6 in a must-win game. The Minnesota Vikings entertain the Carolina Panthers. It's in Carolina. Minnesota at 10-2, Carolina 8-4 is our second must-watch game of the week. The Chicago Bears are at 3-9. They are in Cincinnati to face off against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are at 5-7. The Green Bay Packers take their 6-6 record into Cleveland to face off against the Cleveland Browns, who are at 0-12 on the year, looking for their first win. The San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm take their 2-10 record into Houston to face off against 4-8 Texans. You have the Seattle Seahawks at 8-4 against the identical record of the Jacksonville Jaguars 8-4. Who would have thought that? This should be a game of the week. Unfortunately, I think the Seahawks will just absolutely romp in this one, making it not even close. A potential game of the week here has your Oakland Raiders at 6-6 against the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-6 for the division lead. That should be a dandy of a matchup for sure. The Detroit Lions are at 6-6. They're into Tampa to face off against 4-8 Buccaneers. You have the Tennessee Titans at 8-4 in Arizona to face off against the Cardinals at 5-7. The Jets at 5-7 are into Denver to face off against the lifeless Denver Broncos at 3-9. Jets should romp in that one. Washington Redskins at 5-7 are into LA to face off against the Chargers, who are at 6-6. Chargers are on a roll of late. They look very, very good right now. Another game of the week candidate is the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-2 into LA to face off against the 9-3 Rams. That should be a beauty. You got the Dallas Cowboys at 6-6 on life support, looking to get into the playoff chance. They have very little chance, but a very little glimmer of hope. They face the Giants, who are at 2-10 on the season. Giants will turn back to Eli Manning after benching him last week due to the firings of Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese, the coach and general manager, which we'll get to in a moment. You have the Baltimore Ravens at 7-5 into Pittsburgh to face off against the 10-2 Steelers in the Sunday nighter. That should be a phenomenal matchup. Baltimore's defense has been incredible all season. And then finally to wrap week 14. God, I'll get that right, I promise. Week 14, New England Patriots at 10-2 are into Miami to face off against the Miami Dolphins, who are at 5-7. No Gronk. We'll get to that in a minute, I promise. That is your NFL report for this week's episode of TST. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. Andrew Rogers here. Welcome back. TST, Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me as always. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. We have some things we want to talk about at this point in the show. Just a couple of things that we didn't focus on in our segments. Just a couple of other sports headlines making waves this past week across the sports landscape. The first thing we want to talk about, there was a trade in the NHL this past week. The Anaheim Ducks shipping Sami Vatanen, the defenseman for the Anaheim Ducks. They've been trying to trade him for quite some time now, but they finally found a suitor. He goes to New Jersey along with a conditional draft pick. In return, goes Adam Henrique, Joseph Blandisi, and a 2018 third-round selection to the Anaheim Ducks. This one was kind of surprising. I was not expecting Adam Henrique to get dealt from the New Jersey Devils. However, he is an Anaheim Duck now. The reunited, we had Henrique and Taylor Hall in New Jersey. It was the first time they had played together since their Windsor Spitfire days when they were winning back-to-back Memorial Cups. Or in the OHL championships. They were unbelievable there. They had unbelievable chemistry, but Adam Henrique unfortunately traded from the New Jersey Devils to the Anaheim Ducks. We also have the Toronto FC that we want to talk about. Boy, is this awesome. The best team in the MLS this season, and they are back in the MLS final. They will take on a familiar foe. Last year in the MLS final, they fell to the Seattle Sounders, and again, they will play them once again at BMO Field this Saturday. It should be an incredible game. It's a 4 p.m. start at BMO Field. The Toronto FC and the Seattle Sounders, again, round 2. FC looking to extract some revenge and pull out on top in this one. We also want to talk, there's an NHL story of interest. Derek Dorsett of the Vancouver Canucks, unfortunately, will not return to the Vancouver Canucks at all this season due to complications. It's a health issue for him. Doctors have told him that because of he had spinal reconstruction surgery that it was a career-threatening injury, and unfortunately he's receiving complications. So he has neck and back stiffness, and he has been told and informed that he can no longer resume his hockey career at this point. It'd be interesting to see whether or not he comes back or not. It's unfortunate when your hockey career is literally pulled from you and there is nothing that you can do to stop it. Moving on now, we have the PGA. We had Tiger Woods return to action for the first time in 8 months. He played in the Hero World Challenge, and boy, was he Tiger of old. Man, he looked good. Some of the highlights were just absolutely incredible. He looks strong. He looks poised. He shot an 8 under through the tournament. Unfortunately, he still fell 10 shots back. He was 10 shots back of the winner, Ricky Fowler, with an 18 under. But boy, Woods looks unbelievable. He shot way up in the world rankings due to his performance. He actually led the tournament at one point over the course of the weekend. And you know what? For everybody else in the PGA Tour field right now, looking ahead to 2018, I'd be shaking in my boots. Tiger's coming for you, and he looks back. But you know what? What's interesting about this, though, is that every time Tiger's come back, he's come back like 4 times in the last 2-3 years. Every time he comes back, everybody's like, oh, he's back. Let's just see. I want to see him win one first. He hasn't won in quite some time. I would love to see him win a tournament to say he's back for sure. But man, did he look good. He was striking the ball with absolute fierce and power. And boy, does he look strong. We had the New York Giants story. They took the sports world by storm. They actually did what was expected, actually, to be honest. They fired their coach, Ben McAdoo. They were 2-10 through 12 games. It just had to be done, and it was. But unfortunately, he wasn't the only one to lose his job. GM Jerry Reese also was let go, and this prompted the New York Giants to announce that it's pretty much assumed now that Eli Manning will be the starter in week number 14 in a tilt. And you know what? He's going to be fired up to go in there and absolutely demolish the Dallas Cowboys. You know what? And you never know with a divisional matchup like that. You better believe that Eli Manning's going to come out and he's going to want to absolutely tear him to bits. We also have Rob Gronkowski. He was suspended for a game for an illegal late hit against the Buffalo Bills in their victory. He will miss the Monday Nighter against the Miami Dolphins. That's all for your sports headlines on top of what we've already talked about. We'll be right back after this with your TST Sports Movie Pick of the Week, and we'll close the show. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, TST, Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed the episode thus far. Just want to leave you with this. Last week on the program, we featured the Ziegler Castle Lumber, Saugeen Shores, Pee Wee, House League girls team. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. We featured them on the program because they had won a contest to play them outdoors at Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Head Coach Bryan Tedford submitted their entry in, and they won the contest for the whole Southern Ontario region. It was unbelievable. This past week, we caught up with Bryan to get his take on all of this. Happy to be joined with Bryan Tedford here on the program. Bryan, thanks for joining TST, pal.
Thanks for having me.
Bryan, we have you on here because you're the coach of the Ziegler Castle Lumber, Saugeen Shores Pee Wee House League girls team, correct?
Yes, that's a mouthful, but that's right.
Isn't it though? But you are the coach of the team, and we featured them last week on the program. They won a contest to play at Parliament Hill. It's such an incredible accomplishment. Congratulations on that. How did this whole thing come about, Bryan?
I got an email probably early November from the vice president for girls hockey in Saugeen Shores, and it was from the contest itself, saying if you have a Pee Wee girls team or boys team, there's this contest that's open to you, and forwarded it on to my manager and hummed and hawed about it because it seemed like a lot of work, extra work that wasn't necessarily easy to do. And anyway, we thought about it and decided to go ahead and to do it.
Right on. The poem is fantastic. I loved every word of it. Did you write that yourself, or did you have some inspiration there?
I wrote most of it myself. I think my wife and kids had a couple of suggestions, but yeah, most of it was mine.
Yeah, it's very well written. I guess, did you have any sort of expectations when you were entering this contest? Like, did you expect to come back with a victory?
No, not really. We entered it. We thought it would be a good team building exercise, and never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd win. There's a couple parents that kept telling me, the video was so good, and they thought the poem was a good twist, that we had a good shot at it. But yeah, I didn't really think we were going to win.
Well, and it's such an incredible achievement. I guess, what does it mean from a small town community's perspective to be, I guess, awarded this prestigious honor?
Well, it just means the team from Saugeen Shores gets to go to the big city of Ottawa and see Parliament Hill and play a game on the ice there. That's pretty big honor. I don't know. There's not too many other teams get to do that. So,
needless to say, I guess you and the whole team are pretty excited for this.
Yeah, the girls pretty pumped up about it, and coaching staff can't wait to get there.
Absolutely, no doubt. I guess, so what makes this team so special, Bryan?
We're a pretty multicultural team. There's a few new girls this year. We've got 6 girls that have never played hockey before, but they, at Pee Wee age, they decided to sign up, and they're doing really well. It's just a good group of girls that we're having fun.
Nothing wrong with that. Fun is key, absolutely. I guess, what do you hope that they take away from this whole experience?
Oh boy, I guess there's a chance to do anything. You enter a contest from across Canada, and you have a chance to win if you really try and put your mind into it. You can do anything, whether it's hockey or anything else in life. Anything's possible.
Yeah, it's like I say again, it's just such a tremendous accomplishment, and I'm honestly so proud. Like I'm I grew up in the area there, and anytime I associate sort of Saugeen Shores with the rest of Ontario, even, I think, it's just a small town community that no one really knows anything about. But it's needless to say, they'll get to know a lot about the Saugeen Shores community come this contest. So when does it all take place, Bryan?
December 27th, we leave on the bus for Ottawa, and we come back on the 31st. So our first game, I haven't got the schedule yet, but our first game probably be the 28th. We're guaranteed 3 games total for the round robin, and then one of those games is on Parliament Hill, weather permitting. Of course, if it's minus 30, I don't think we'll play. But yeah.
Right on, and that's fantastic. In terms of the season, like in terms of the regular Saugeen Shores Saugeen Shores girls season, what are your expectations for the rest of the year?
get better as a team, try to score some goals, and hopefully win some hockey games, and come together as a group. We're getting better every game. That's probably about it.
Right on, right on. I have one final question for you, Bryan, before I let you go, and I guess that is, what does it mean for you personally in the coaching role of this team? Like, how much enjoyment do you get out of it personally?
Well, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. This is my second year coaching. Coached last year for the first year, and I enjoyed it. It's fun, planning practices, getting out there with the girls, trying to help them develop their skills, become, better hockey players. It's just really a lot of fun.
Excellent. Bryan Tedford joins us here on the program. Thank you very much, Bryan, for doing this. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bryan, for doing that. It was unbelievable to talk to you, and again, congratulations. Our TST Sports Movie Pick of the Week is The Replacements. Keanu Reeves makes another appearance in the Sports Movie Pick of the Week, this time as quarterback Shane Falco in The Replacements. Reeves and a band of former players are summoned to suit up for the Washington Sentinels when the stars of the team hold out due to a salary dispute. An all-star cast including Reeves alongside Gene Hackman and Jon Favreau. This movie will make sure to score big on movie night, delivering big laugh after big laugh.
That's great, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what scares us on the field.
What you mean, like spiders on the field?
Can we get beyond the spiders, please?
Bees?
Bees.
Bees. Y'all know about them bees?
Anybody here afraid of anything other than insects? Huh? Come on.
Quicksand. Oh, shit. Hey, quicksand's a scary mother, man. I mean, first of all, it suck you right in, and even if you scream, you get all that muck in your mouth.
I don't think that's what Shane had in mind, frankly.
Huh?
That's not what he had in mind.
What are you talking about then, Coach?
Well, why don't you ask him?
Hey, what's up, Shane?
You're playing, and you think everything is going fine, but then one thing goes wrong, and then another, and another. And you try to fight back, but the harder you fight, the deeper you sink, till you can't move. You can't breathe, because you're in over your head. Like quicksand. The Replacements is this week's TST Sports Movie Pick of the Week. That's all the time we have on the program today. Our TST commentator clothing was made and purchased from Vistaprint. Go to vistaprint.ca for all your custom apparel needs. They are absolutely incredible, and they look sharp. They look very, very sharp. That's all for the program today on this week's edition of TST Total Sports Talk. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, folks.